My name is Julia Frolova. I'm an exchange student from Russia. My typical day was like, I just go to school, to my Russian university, study there, go back home, study there. And probably if I have enough time, like after studying, doing the homework and all this stuff, I'd probably go out with my friends to the cinema or just like go to their houses and drink wine, yeah, watch movies, all that stuff, yeah. Well, it changes a little bit, but frankly speaking, I'm not really going out a lot because, well, here I'm studying for both universities, both WVU and Russian University, because I don't really want it to lose the year. That's why I need to do a lot of courses online, and I have to do much more homework, so I'm like, I wouldn't say kept captive inside the house, but I need to stay in the house a lot to do the homework and not to make it by the deadline. The things that come into my mind when I think of home are not really home itself, but people behind it. Like, I miss my friends, I miss my family, and it's basically like, that's it. That's the only two things that come into my mind when I'm thinking of home. I don't miss home itself, but I miss the people. So yeah. Besides drinking wine, well, we just talk about a lot of stuff, not political stuff because we're not really into it. I'm personally not into that. But, well, you could say that we talk about the homework also, but that would be the boring stuff. So, watching movies, drinking coffee, going out. I don't like clubs. No, I'm not a club person, really. And I'm not really a party person because, like, I don't really like big crowds and big gatherings of people. And personally, I like to stay in small groups of people, which includes my friends and family. So we basically like hang around at home or just go out to some cafe or restaurant and sit there, talk about stuff. These are the things that I'm going to miss about USA when going home. It's an attitude and probably mentality a little bit. Because I remember when I was in New York and in Brooklyn and we went to the Russian area in there. And I remember when my friend bought something in the store and it had a Russian cashier in there. And the cashier didn't smile. So I would really miss the smile of American people and all this thank you, excuse me, sorry if you like stuck in the door and someone didn't hold it up for you. So yeah, I would miss those little things. That is a tough question, actually. I believe I had some stereotypes or assumptions, I would say, about America, but before actually coming to America, I tried to get rid of those stereotypes. So when I come to America, I would have a clear vision of America itself and its culture. And I tried to talk to other people who've been to America and who've also been exchangers before, but it was more about practical stuff like taxes. So I would know what I'm coming to. But stereotypes, not really, I would say. Well, there was one stereotype that just actually has come true. It's like that America has a lot of junk food. Yeah, so, and it was like, a lot of friends told me that you're going to put on weight when you're in America, and it actually did, so I tried to make as much physical activity as I could. So, I kinda, yeah, completed the task of staying on my weight, so yeah. Well, I would say that growing up for my parents was a lot more different because, well, they grew up in USSR and it was like different political state there. and I grew up like in some kind of a democracy, but not really. And I probably had like much more opportunities than they did. I'm not sure how it works out in the end, how different it was, but I would say that it was completely different. Not completely, but a little bit different. Because I remember my mom telling stories about them being in school that they all have been pioneers, if you know that stuff. Like being a pioneer, like following the Soviet Union. I'm not really sure how to explain that, but I believe back in USSR school, they had a lot of those moments that teachers were going pro-USSR and they were trying to teach them about USSR and teach USSR ways, and I didn't have that. Maybe that's the thing, that's the big difference. It's all about politics, so yeah. I would say that young Americans are more immature. I don't know, I haven't really experienced a lot of, I didn't really have a lot of interactions with young Americans like teenagers, but I'm living in a host family and they have like 3 teenagers with them. We don't really talk that much, but I would say that young Americans are more sociable than we are. Speaking from my experience, I would say that when I was a teenager, I was more closed up and I was like more of a studying type. So I had to stay at home a lot and don't go out. And young Americans, especially teenagers that are in the high school, they go out a lot, so interact a lot. I would say that young people back in Russia are really involved in social networks and social media, so we pick a lot of news from social media. And sometimes we have our own social network, like here on Facebook we have VK, and there are a lot of like publics where you can pick up latest news, and sometimes they are really independent from official view of the government. So through the social media, through that social network, and through those publics, you can pick up the news that you don't hear on news. And that is a difference from my parents' generation, because all they had was news and official view of the government, and I have like a opposite view. So I have an opportunity to pick up a different view, different chances of growing up socially than my parents did. Older generation doesn't really get a lot of things about young generation, and it would have been really nice if we could get along. And I believe like if they go to our social networks, it could be much easier to like make those differences into similarities. From my experience, sometimes my parents, especially my mom, doesn't listen to me. Like, she listens to me, but she doesn't listen to me. And it would be much better if she actually listened to my opinion and kept it somewhere in her head. But it doesn't happen, really. So probably the older generation has to change their way of like thinking or their attitude to the younger generation, and we also have to adjust to their way of thinking. So that would make things better between generations. One of the main points of my exchange program was for us to become the diplomats for American people to understand Russian culture. So we try to talk about our culture a lot. I would say coming to Russia itself might help, because talking about things is one thing, but when you experience the culture itself by yourself is completely different. Trump, I would say I don't really have an exact opinion on Trump. Because, well, when all that election was going on, I asked my host family, were they pro-Trump or pro-Clinton? And it turned out to be that they were pro-Trump. So I've heard a lot of things that is Trump doing and all this stuff. And at first it seemed like he was a cool guy, but not really. And he's doing a lot of things that I don't understand. Like, recently I read the news about him like signing the baseball cap for 2 kids, and he just threw it out in the crowd. It was like, it is insane. What man does that? Really, like, and he's keeping a lot of things to himself, and I don't really like it. And when you're being the president of such like a freedom-like country, you have to speak out about yourself and speak only the truth about yourself, so you don't, I don't know, misguide your people you're leading. And that is not the thing about the Trump, really. So I don't really like the guy. Yeah. I would say if we were talking about Trump, when we also should talk about Putin maybe, because, well, a lot was being talked in the news about their friendship kind of thing and about Russian influence in the American election. And I would think that you might bring up that question, like, what do you think about Putin's influence in the American election? Or, like, what do you think about Putin? Because I believe there were a lot of ratings made about Putin's popularity in Russia, but right now it's actually not really stable in Russia. Several months ago, I would have thought that Putin would become a president again. But now my political views have changed a little bit, and I would say that is not so clear what is going to happen in Russia right now and what kind of popularity Putin has right now. Because there's been, like, I would say riots, a lot of riots back in Russia. On March 26th, we had one huge riot throughout the country, and I believe like 70 cities went on the riot. And I would say if you follow the news and if you like ask Russian people what is actually going on in your country, you would understand that it's not so bright and clear as it might seem to be. I remember my host family asking about, what do you think of Putin? Do you have Gulag? Are you a KGB agent? Like, we have that inside joke that I'm a KGB agent, and it was just like, at first I was a little bit offended by that, and then, okay, let it go. Just let it go. Okay, I'm a KGB agent, whatever you might think. Yeah. Americans also have a lot of stereotypes about Russia, like bears walking on the streets. I don't know, I was drinking vodka all the time. I hate vodka, by the way. Playing balalaika, like a ukulele sort of thing. Then, what else? Just all those stereotypes that sometimes are not true, but when you go to the small village, you might actually see bear walking on the street. But yeah.